Supergirl Season 2, Episode 4, Survivors. Now, I want to start off with this because I talked about this in my last review, and it was one of my theories as far as what they were going to do with this character, but I'm almost 100% sure at this point that Mon-El is going to be Superboy. They're going to consider him Superboy, and that changes, and I mentioned a little bit that, Cadmus is typically involved with the creation of Superboy, at least what I know from Young Justice. So there's a bit of a difference, with that character and stuff. So seeing this version, they were going through, and I was like, all right, they might do that with his character because he has, even when they first showed his abilities, the first thing I noticed, I was like, okay, so he has super strength and he kind of has super speed, but he doesn't fly or anything like that. And they kind of make a rundown of the list. It's like, okay, so you can't fly, you don't have X-ray vision, heat vision, freeze breath. Technically, he doesn't have super speed. Maybe he does because they kind of show it where it looks like he actually has super speed. It could just be the fact that it's more his physical prowess that makes him move faster than him actually having, super speed. But the point is, he doesn't have all the abilities. But what he does have are the abilities of Superboy, which is basically super strength, and, he can... he has like crazy enhanced strength, so he can like jump super high, and they do the Superman reference where he can leap tall buildings, in a single bound, which I don't know if a lot of people know this. The reason that that's a Superman reference is because Superman couldn't fly initially. He could just jump really high. They added, his power of flight later on. I think it was within the year he was created, but initially he couldn't fly. He didn't have a ton of powers that he has now, actually. But I was like, that's pretty cool. It's a cool way to throw a reference in there. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be Superboy. And they haven't really brought this up yet, but his name is Mon-El, which I thought was very interesting considering Kara and, Clark, because, they come from the House of El. And I thought it was interesting that he'd have the same last name as them. And they're from different planets, so I guess that's why it hasn't really been brought up yet. But I was like, I feel like that would be something important. So I don't know. I feel like he's going to be Superboy. Also, they did the color scheme thing. So when it starts off and it shows the flashback of Daxam as Krypton is being destroyed, he's in all red. And then during the present day stuff, he's in all black. And I was like, these just so happen to be the current day colors of Superboy, which is really just a black t-shirt and he has a red S on him. So it's just, the black and red. I was like, I feel like they're showing off some hints here. I'm pretty sure he's going to be Superboy. And they also do it at the end, where he's like, who would have thought us working together, the girl from Krypton and the boy from Daxam. I was like, he's going to be Superboy for sure. So I don't know what they're going to do as his fake name, because it's, for Superboy, they call him Connor, and his actual name is Con-El, is the name that they give him. So it rhymes because it's, it's Mon-El. So I don't know if he's just going to change it and be like, you know what, new planet, new name. But it seems really easy that they could do that, where he just changes the M to a K and just goes as Connor, just to, go with that sort of K, sort of C sounding type name. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how far they push it. But based on this episode, I think I'm just going to flat out be like, yeah, he's going to be Superboy. I don't know when they're going to do it, but he's going to be Superboy. Like, it would be insane if I'm wrong about that with all the little hints they seem to be dropping. But I'm excited for that. I like Superboy, what little I know about him. I like Superboy a lot because he doesn't have all the crazy epic powers. He really just only has super strength and basically, super strength and endurance. So he has to, like, get up close and it's like hand-to-hand combat with his character. He can't do, like, heat vision and, stuff like that. He can't fly or run into people and knock them down really hard. Well, he can run into them because, like I said, with his enhanced strength, he could probably physically move faster. But he doesn't have, like, super speed. He can't, like, fly and just dive bomb on somebody. He has to run in and just, like, physically fight people. So I'm kind of excited to see them do that. So I was really happy that we got to see a bunch of that. I personally, based on what I know about Superboy, thought that they were dropping a ton of hints in there. So I was happy with that. I hope that he does end up being Superboy. And then the other side, I also really enjoyed. The main issue of this episode I thought was really well done. It was very simple. It was an alien underground fight club. We got to see a couple of aliens do some fighting. We had some really serious stuff with Jean, which I thought was actually pretty good. Or John is something else I'm watching. But I thought it was good. I thought it was really cool, actually. We got to see Megan in most of that, well, not most of the episode, but in a lot of different parts of this episode, we got to see her in a green Martian form. And I wasn't sure if they were going to do this or not, because I was like, okay, I know who she is. Once again, from Young Justice is pretty much where all my knowledge comes from for like younger characters. I was like, all right, I personally I already knew what her deal was going to be, and they were kind of hinting at it. They're going through the episode, and it's like, oh, you know, she's the other green Martian and stuff, and she's saved by a white Martian, and she doesn't want to live in the past. She doesn't want to relive those things. And as I was watching that, I'm like, this fits perfectly. You know, it's because, of course, you know, she was a white Martian. But as it was going through the episode, I'm like, I wonder if they're going to hold this off for a while and they'll just, you know, be friends or whatever. There she is. I knew she was going to start barking. I could hear people. But I was curious if it was going to be like, you know, they hold it off. Kind of a typical TV thing. It just holds off for a long time. I'm probably going to have to yell at her. Sadie! There it is. So, I was wondering if they were going to do it for a super long time and like, do like, you know, mid-season finale type thing. Like, oh man, somehow, you know, John finds out or whatever. But I was glad that they kind of just went through that. He still hasn't found out, but I was glad they, you know, showed us as viewers that she's, you know, the thing. I guess they did do the typical thing. I guess they did. I was thinking, you know, I guess because I have a bit of an altered perspective because I knew what was going to happen. I was like, oh, they didn't do the generic thing where they, you know, they showed it early on. But now that I think about it, they do that for everything. It's like, check out this crazy reveal, but the other characters don't know. So actually they did the very typical, you know, TV thing. But I'm still fine with that. I was glad they didn't hold that off for a super long time either, because it still could have been just a simple thing, as far as it was just, you know, John and Megan trying to have a relationship, which I still think was really well done. Them, you know, especially John, I really loved his storyline in this episode. Like, he had, honestly, I think he had my favorite stuff in the whole episode, because it's him dealing with all this emotion. He went through, in this episode in particular, some of the stuff Kara kind of went through in like the first two episodes, where she's like, you know, she spent a bunch of time with Clark, and it's like, man, I just feel so amazing having another Kryptonian with me, because we're the only two, and it just feels different even than with, you know, being with her sister. So for him to have that, I thought was really well done. I was like, I like this, you know, it makes a lot of sense. I think, especially with Alex, you know, kind of dealing with that with her sister, and Kara being Kara, I think they can both easily understand at this point the way he feels, where he's like, you know, I care about you both for sure, but it's just so different. Plus they have, you know, the mind link and stuff like that, which is just an experience you simply can't have with other species. So I thought it was really well done what they did with his storyline. And then we have the villain for this episode, Roulette, who also goes free at the end of the episode. So she's got somebody high up, you know, on her side, and I'm not sure what to expect from that, but I think we'll be seeing her later. I don't know if it'll be this season or not, but clearly they've introduced the fact that we're going to have a new recurring villain, because, I mean, she gets busted in this episode and everything. She doesn't even escape, and then it's just like, yep, I got friends, I'm out of here, and she just leaves and looks fancy and takes off. So she, of course, is coming back at some point in the series. I would assume, you know, somewhere in this season, since it's her first season. But we'll just have to wait and see how all that stuff plays out. But I like what they did with John. I thought the action was pretty good. Some of the sequences I thought were short, but of course, people have like super strength, so when it's not, like when it wasn't Megan versus John and they were fighting and he was trying to talk with her and then they stop, they have the fight scene with the Draga, who comes in, and Kara comes in and she does the thing that Mon-El told her, and she hit him in the knee, and then she punched him once and he passed out, and I was like, oh, I thought he'd be way stronger than that. I didn't think he'd pass out from like one punch from her. And I was really surprised by that. I was a little disappointed because he beat the crap out of her during their first fight. And it was funny. I thought it'd be Incredibles because she flies up and he grabs her cape. And I was like, huh, she was right. No capes. But I was like, man, it's kind of disappointing that we didn't get that cool action sequence with him. Or at least a couple of hits. It was just like she got him in the knee and then she punched him and he passed out. And I was like, oh, that was way faster than I was expecting. I thought they would all have to fight him because he seemed like that type of character where they all had to beat him up. And plus, and this was really awesome knowing kind of the comic universe, they mentioned World, which is where Apocalypse is. So I thought that was really cool. It was a super quick thing. It was like, you know, I saw him fight on World once. I was like, that's actually kind of awesome that they mentioned that. Or World, I believe, is where Apocalypse is. Sometimes it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's World. or dark side is world somewhere. There's it's like something is not. There's like the planet apocalypse or something like that. I really can't remember. I'm mixing some stuff up right now, but they mention it, and I know what it is. I can think of it visually, but I'm pretty sure that's where dark seed is. It's not supposed to be pronounced as dark side, but I thought that was a cool reference, and I like the action. Like I said, the visuals I thought were really good. We got to see a bunch of Martian stuff in this, and it seemed like for the most part, aside from when they're talking, I think they've kind of decided to make actual costumes for people, and like even the heads are actual prosthetic heads and stuff. So if not, that was some really good CG when they were fighting. And then of course when they were talking, I was like, okay, this is clearly CG because the mouths are moving and stuff. But I think when they were just fighting each other and spinning around and throwing each other, I'm pretty sure the heads, it could have been a bit half and half. They do that a lot too in TV, where it's like some of it is slightly prosthetic, and then some, like the other half, to make certain elements of it work, they do CG as well. So it could be a little half and half. I'm still not 100% sure, but it looked like it was completely real. Is at least, like I said, when they were fighting. Once it got to the talking, it was like, okay, this is clearly completely CG because they're moving and they have facial expressions. It's not just they're moving so fast. You'd have to pause it to see what they look like, and even then it would be really blurry. So I thought it looked really well done. And then, of course, like I said, we got the reveal that McGann, they actually say her superhero name, which is Miss Martian. So I was surprised that they even had that in this episode. But we, of course, see that she's a white Martian at the end of the episode. That is, of course, 100% CG because they're so freaking huge. But I was like, okay, I'm curious where they're going to take it because I know her character. This is actually different than the story that I knew because in Young Justice, which is, like I said, where I know most of my information on her, she, the fact that she's a white Martian is already known to Martian Manhunter. So this is actually kind of cool seeing it from a different perspective where it's like, oh, I know both these characters, but in the first time I ever saw the two of them together, he already knew that she was a white Martian, and in this, that's a secret that he has to find out and that she has to eventually feel comfortable with telling him, and her side of things where she may not have committed to some of the violent acts that were done on the planet to the Green Martians, and that's why she took off. Kind of like this story where she decided she was the one, of course, who decided to break rank. But I thought it was a fun episode. I actually liked the villain. She was simple, subtle. I always love that actress. I always see her every once in a while. I see her. I'm like, oh, I always liked her. But I like the villain that we had. I like the fact that we got some pretty good action in here. I really enjoyed kind of the emotional side for John. I thought we had some really good, funny stuff with Mon-El and Wynn. That was really good when they were drinking and stuff. And he broke that guy's arm. And he's like, oh, that's not bending right. And that woke Wynn up. And then the other dude punched him and he broke his hand. He's like, all right, we got to go. It's time to get out of here. So they had some really funny stuff. And Wynn's going to come up with something simple. Or somebody else is going to come up with that name. But he's going to be Superboy. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be so disappointed. But they're just throwing it out there. It's like, okay, clearly he hasn't been killed off yet. He hasn't just taken off on his own. So he's going to be in there at least until they give him that name. And then he'll probably take off, like I said, because too many superheroes. But maybe they won't do that. Maybe it'll be like, hey, we got another hero. Let's just freaking put him in there. So I hope that's what they do. Maybe that'll get them to bring Superman in and we see all three of them fight together. That would be really awesome. But I'm excited to see where they take it. Hopefully I'm right and they do the Superboy thing. I think that'll be really cool. Add in, they got Miss Martian now, so they're adding in a lot of cool characters. Hopefully we'll actually get to see them fight. I don't know how long it'll take before we get like some crazy team up type stuff. We still have this crossover coming, which with the addition of Miss Martian and possibly Superboy, I'm really curious if they're going to be a part of this big crossover for all the CW DC shows. They probably won't be. They'll probably just be Kara. But it makes me curious, what's going to be happening and what the villain is going to be for this giant crossover. But really enjoyed this one. Very curious about this next episode with Jimmy going out to be a superhero. It's really weird watching this show and Jimmy's like the cool giant tall guy who's in shape, and it's like, that's not Jimmy, but it's the version we have. So I'm curious to see where they go with it. He wants to be a hero. We'll see how that plays out. But I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I actually want to know what you guys think is going to happen with Miss Martian and Mon-El. I told you guys my theory, at least for Mon-El, I'm so sure he's going to be Superboy. I don't know what they're going to do with McGann. I don't know if she'll end up joining the team eventually once everyone finds out that she's a good white Martian, or what the deal is with that, but I'm pretty sure that Mon-El is going to be Superboy. I really hope so. I'm going to be so disappointed if not, because they're throwing all these hints and I'm like, either these are some really obvious references for people that know this character and they're just screwing with us, or they're really going to do it. So that's my prediction for him. I think McGann will just be in there and eventually they'll find out and they'll be like, I'm actually good. They'll be like, okay, and then sometimes she'll help them fight. I really think that's how her storyline will go, but I want to know your predictions for it. And of course I want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.